The Straight Red Card is sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. Visit Roughneck Scarves for your supporters' gear from Seattle, Portland, New York, to the Philadelphia Union, and anything MLS to the English Premier League. Visit Roughneck Scarves at roughneckscarves.com. I'm thinking about DC United, and I'm thinking they are 11th in the table, which looks a lot better than they've played because they've been absolutely massacred several times this season. I think 3 times that I can think of right off the top of my head. And, a guy like Ben Olsen, who everybody likes, he's a good guy, he's a nice guy. And he has a storied career in the league. He's been around forever. Yet, how many more chances does a guy like Ben Olsen get if this team, DC United, who are only really out of the bottom of the table by a point, right? I mean, they haven't played good soccer. They've beat some teams they probably should have beaten anyhow with the talent that they have on that team. And here's the guy, Ben Olsen, that's also said, well, I'm not really going to, in so many words, take responsibility for last season because I was an interim coach and really wasn't my team. My thought is, if it's not really your team, then make it your team. Go out, and I understand there were a lot of injuries, and they didn't have the best lineup last year, but as a coach, you put together a team and a lineup that goes out and at best gets draws and an occasional win, and you compete. You compete with whatever you've got. That's your job. But to me, it sounded like Ben's was making kind of excuses. Well, it wasn't really my team, and I'm not going to take responsibility. But now it's my team, so now I'll take responsibility for it. Does that sound kind of like maybe too little, too late? Because I mean, here's a team that has a lot of talent now. You got Dax McCarty, you've got Charlie Davies, and you have some young guys in the back that are pretty talented and have a lot to learn, but it's not a bad team.
No, I think you're right. I think that they do have some talent, and they went after some names, and that ownership's going to put it right back on him now. You better bet it because yeah, absolutely, because they did go out and get some people, and who knows if they were his first choices on people or not. I'm going to assume he had some say in who to go get. Mm-hmm. Pretty much like any manager of any MLS club and anywhere really is going to have some say in it. But I mean, it's back on him now, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts over the next maybe few weeks, because he's a fan favorite from his playing days. So the DC United people are gonna the fans, I should say, are gonna want him to succeed, of course.
Yeah.
But there's been plenty of instances where players come along to their old clubs and try to lift them up and bring them out of some pretty bad form to be good teams, or hopefully eventually champions. And I don't really always see that being a successful sort of plan. It doesn't. Especially someone that's only been out of the playing days for a very short period of time.
Right. Not everybody can be. Not everybody can be Jason Kreis. I mean, that's not how it works.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, that some players. I mean, Jason Kreis. I mean, that's an incredible story. You don't see that very often at all. He came. It was basically immediately after his playing days, and he's all of a sudden the head manager at RSL,
and he took what was a fairly mediocre team, at least roster-wise. People would consider that team.
He inherited what I would call a bad team.
Right.
That RSL team, when he took over, was bad, and within about a year and a half, he had them playing and up to speed to the point where they made that nice run, and they've continued. Although I guess lately they haven't looked great the last couple weeks, but
they're squeaking by though. Yeah.
Yeah, and with Ben Olsen, I think it's he better start start getting something going.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, going back to the idea of the fans and supporters wanting to see him succeed. There's a lot I talk from people who like DC about not liking the ownership so much.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little bit skeptical. It seems like there's this air of what's going to happen. Where are they going to move us to Baltimore? Is it really going to be our team anymore? And the ownership group, forget his name now, but he doesn't even live in the DC area, so it's kind of. You kind of wonder also if that's giving Olsen some time because they're trying to do the right thing PR wise.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's your over under on how long he's got if things continue to be 3-0 losses or 4-0 losses.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and you well, first of all, I don't blame the owner for not wanting to live in the DC area. What a cluster, on the highways, trying to get to and away from work. My dad, took me to the Pentagon a couple of times, and what a mess that highway is. But it's not a lot of great, inexpensive places to live there. But we talked to Stephen Goff not at the beginning of the season about DC United, and one thing Stephen told us is Clyde Sims is not a central defensive midfielder. He just doesn't have the guts. He doesn't have it's not in his character to be that kind of cleanup guy, He's not a real tough and rough and rumble guy. And that has really shown out throughout the beginning of this season. Yet, Ben Olsen continues to start Clyde Sims at CDM behind, for the most part, Dax McCarty, who, when he does receive a ball, Clyde Sims is not exactly rushing up to support him in the midfield. And at a certain point, that becomes the coach's decision. If that's not working over and over and game after game after game, you can't continue to keep playing that guy at CDM with Dax McCarty. There's got to be another option. So it is the coach. The coach has to make that kind of decision. He's got to say, listen, Clyde Sims, he's a fast guy, but he's not a great a tackler. He's not an aggressive tackler. He's not the kind of guy that's going to clean out an attack that's coming down the field. Let's put this guy out in the wing, and let's find somebody else that can play with Dax McCarty in the center of that midfield. And Dax is a very skilled guy, and if he has somebody supporting him, like he did last year, like Hernandez. I mean, there's a guy, a tough son of a gun. Hernandez is one of probably the toughest guys in the league. He could play center defensive midfield. He could play center back. He could probably play left back, right back. Hernandez, wherever you put that guy, he's reliable, he's tough. Now, you're asking Dax McCarty to really play that central midfield spot by himself because Clyde Sims seems to sit back and play like a third center back spot for that DC United team. So, in the end, it becomes the coach's responsibility, and if he keeps screwing it up and Ben doesn't come up with another solution, he is going to be gone.
You bring up some great points. You would think there would be a better option than Clyde Sims back there, but when Dax McCarty was playing with Dallas last year, I mean, he was integral in kind of pushing things forward, but he wasn't the guy to push things forward like Ferreira was.
Right. Right.
You kind of wonder if McCarty should be playing back. I don't know. I sometimes when I know he's not he's not tall at all, but I don't know if you need that huge presence back there as long as you've got someone that's fairly aggressive. And then you wonder, well, then if the back line can clean things up, who are you outletting to? If it's not out to the sides, you've got McCarty there to push it forward. So, if he's going to be more of a box-to-box guy and be that capable one that DC, I'm sure, was hoping for, maybe you can rely on him a little bit more to play that defensive position. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there, but there's got to be something better.
That's completely fair. I mean, the fact is, at Dallas, McCarty was a part of a three-man spine down that middle. As you said, Ferreira, then McCarty, then Hernandez. I mean, those guys were the backbone last year of that Dallas team down the center. And obviously, they didn't think McCarty was important enough to protect. And so far, that has been somewhat, it looks like, at least early in the season, a mistake. But FC Dallas are not at the bottom of the table. They're in the middle. And so that's not too bad. But I would say, playing McCarty in front of Sims in the center CM spot, but not having a David Ferreira, not having a guy like Ferreira in front of McCarty that he can distribute to is really hurting DC United. And if they can fix that, if they can find a guy, and in fact they talked about, well, Davies needs to come back to get the ball more. He needs to play that Ferreira role more as things move forward. He is a striker, but yes, he needs to come back and almost play like a distributing CAM. Well, if that happens and Davies can pull that off, maybe things can turn around for DC United. But in the end, really, Ruben, in the end, that back four and the youth, if you're talking about the CBs for DC United, as well as the young goalies, you're looking at a team that really needs to kick it up a notch, because no one is taking responsibility for the center of the defensive end for DC United, and that's why they're getting creamed 3-0, 4-3-1, 4-1, or whatever the hell it is. They're getting their asses kicked because no one's taking responsibility for the center defensive end.
If you want to call it destroyer, it seems like that team needs it at least.
Yeah, and it's communication, really. When you watch DC United play, none of those young kids are talking to each other in the back. They're not, whether it's Jakovic or whoever it is, they're not communicating. No one's taking command in the defensive area, not even the goalie. And if the goalie's not going to take command, then you've got real trouble. And that's, kind of the weak end of the spine, if you will, on that DC United team. So we'll see what happens. But, Ruben, thanks for filling in for Brett. You're going to probably do it for both of us down the line. And I appreciate you making time for us tonight.
Hey, no problem. I had a lot of fun, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And for the rest of, for Brett, who's not here, we'll talk to you soon. We have Bruce McGuire on from Due Nord on the 15th of May. And so the show will probably be out the 16th and throughout the week. But until next time on the Straight Red Card, this is Derek Ritchie and Ruben Hussman